Welcome to Power in Words, a quiet harbor in the loud and rushing world. Here, we believe that the right words at the right moment can illuminate the darkest corners of our minds, offering not just passing inspiration, but a deep, resonant strength. We are a community dedicated to the gentle awakening of your inner resilience, a space cultivated for positive energy and profound self-compassion. This is not a place where we pretend that life is perfectly smooth, nor do we demand that you wear a mask of relentless optimism. Instead, this is a sanctuary where we honor the beautiful complexity of the human experience, extending the hand of friendship and understanding across the digital distance. Here, your silent struggles are acknowledged without judgment, your quiet victories are celebrated with genuine warmth, and you are gently reminded with every passing moment that you are never walking this difficult, breathtaking path entirely alone. We are sharing this journey together, breathing life into the courage that already exists within you. We find ourselves navigating an era that profoundly worships the concept of certainty. Much of our modern world is built on a fragile illusion. We are subtly taught that we can calculate, predict, and ultimately control the outcomes of our lives. From the complex algorithms that attempt to anticipate our behaviors to the elaborate life plans we construct for our careers and relationships, we are perpetually engaged in a frantic, exhausting pursuit of absolute guarantees. We desperately want to know that the difficult choices we make today will absolutely secure our happiness and stability tomorrow. We demand a highly detailed map for a territory that has not yet been discovered. This relentless craving for security is deeply understandable, and it is crucial that we look upon it with empathy rather than harsh self-criticism. Psychologically, this desire is deeply rooted in our primal survival instincts. To our ancient ancestors, the unknown was not an opportunity for personal growth. It was a space of acute physical danger. Predictability meant safety, and safety meant staying alive. Our brains evolved to be magnificent prediction machines, constantly scanning the horizon for anomalies and attempting to neutralize them before they could cause harm. But in our modern world, this ancient biological wiring often works against our emotional well-being. We have conflated the absence of physical danger with the absolute need for emotional, financial, and situational predictability. The tragedy of our contemporary anxiety is not that we face insurmountable threats on a daily basis, but that we are utterly exhausting ourselves trying to build massive, impenetrable walls against the natural, unpredictable flow of life itself. We spend vast amounts of mental energy trying to completely eliminate risk from our daily equations. We overthink conversations before they happen, endlessly drafting and revising scripts in our minds to ensure we are not misunderstood or judged. We hesitate to express our true, vulnerable feelings because we cannot mathematically guarantee how they will be received by the other person. We delay pursuing our genuine, soul-stirring passions because the path is not guaranteed to lead to immediate financial security. We end up living smaller, more confined, carefully managed lives, tragically mistaking the walls of our comfort zone for a fortress of protection. In reality, those walls often become a prison of stagnation. The comfort zone is rarely genuinely comfortable. It is simply a quiet, predictable place where we trade the vastness of our potential for the mere illusion of safety. Consider the specific, heavy texture of those quiet nights when sleep stubbornly refuses to come, and your mind begins to relentlessly cycle through every possible negative scenario of the future. You might feel the crushing fear of failure, the creeping sense of imposter syndrome that whispers you do not belong in the rooms you have worked so hard to enter, or the profound loneliness of feeling like you are the only person who does not have their life neatly figured out. In those dark, solitary hours, the mind acts as an unforgiving judge, presenting all the undeniable evidence of your vulnerabilities and demanding that you somehow find a way to instantly secure your future against them. We feel this deep, agonizing ache in our chests to just know that everything is going to be okay. We look around at our peers, observing their carefully curated lives and confident strides, and we mistakenly assume they possess some secret formula for security that we have critically missed. We compare our chaotic internal reality with their polished external projection, and we feel profoundly inadequate. But the quiet, universally shared truth of human existence is that absolutely everyone is improvising. Beneath the most confident exterior lies a human heart that is also grappling with the vast, unpredictable nature of being alive. It is precisely in the midst of this universal, exhausting struggle for control that the renowned psychoanalyst and philosopher Erich Fromm offered a piece of profound psychological insight that possesses the power to completely shatter our anxious paradigms. He observed the human condition deeply, looking past our surface anxieties to the root of our psychological suffering, and he concluded with a statement that is as challenging as it is profoundly liberating. He wrote, "The task we must set for ourselves is not to feel secure, but to be able to tolerate insecurity." I want you to pause for a moment and let the profound weight of those words settle into the deepest parts of your mind. The task is not to feel secure. For decades, we have been spending our entire lives trying to solve the wrong equation. We have been taught by society and by our own panicked instincts that the ultimate goal of adulthood is to finally arrive at a plateau of permanent security where nothing can ever hurt us or surprise us. Fromm is gently but firmly telling us that this destination simply does not exist. It is a mirage shimmering on the horizon of our anxiety. The pursuit of absolute security is a desperate chase after a phantom, and it is the chasing itself that exhausts our spirits and breaks our hearts. To tolerate insecurity is not a passive surrender to fate. It is not about becoming a helpless victim to circumstance or giving up on our deepest ambitions. Rather, it is the most active, courageous, and profound psychological shift a human being can possibly make. It means developing the robust internal emotional architecture required to stand firmly in the face of the unknown without losing our fundamental sense of self. It is the monumental shift from trying to control the vast ocean to learning how to build a stronger, more resilient ship. When we consciously stop demanding that the world be predictable, we suddenly reclaim an enormous amount of mental and emotional energy that was previously squandered on fruitless worry and desperate manipulation. We begin to understand on a cellular level that life is not a rigid puzzle to be perfectly solved, but a vast, unfolding mystery to be experienced. We realize that our insistence on certainty has been blocking our capacity for genuine joy. Think about the profound concept of vulnerability. We are often culturally conditioned to view vulnerability as a weakness or a dangerous exposure to potential pain. But vulnerability is actually the conscious, brave choice to step deliberately into the unknown. When you look someone in the eyes and tell them you love them for the first time, you are standing in a state of absolute exposure. You have absolutely no guarantee that they will return the sentiment. When you submit a deeply personal piece of creative work to the world, or when you swallow your pride to apologize and ask for forgiveness, you are stepping away from the safe shore of certainty and diving into the deep waters of the unpredictable. If we rigidly demand security in all things, we can never do these brave things. We can never experience the quiet depth of true love, because genuine love is inherently risky. It requires us to place our hearts in the hands of another human being who is as fallible as we are. We can never experience true creative triumph, because creativity demands that we step beyond what is known into the void of what could be. As the poet Rainer Maria Rilke so wisely advised a young writer, we must learn to love the questions themselves rather than desperately seeking solid answers that cannot yet be given. We must live the questions now, trusting that someday we will gradually live our way into the answers. How do we actually go about cultivating this remarkable ability to tolerate the insecure, unpredictable nature of our daily lives? It begins with a fundamental radical change in how we relate to our own anxiety. When we feel the physical sensation of uncertainty rising in our bodies, the sudden tightening of the chest, or the racing thoughts, our habitual response is to panic about the panic. We interpret this acute physical discomfort as an undeniable siren warning us that we are in immediate danger and that we need to retreat to safety. But in the field of psychology, it is widely recognized that the physiological response to fear and the physiological response to excitement are almost entirely identical within the body. Both involve an increased heart rate and heightened awareness. While we cannot always control this immediate physical surge, we can gradually learn to change the story we tell ourselves about it. What if the intense discomfort you feel when facing the unknown is not a warning to turn back, but the exact physical sensation of your life expanding? What if that nervous energy is the feeling of your cognitive and emotional boundaries actively stretching to accommodate a larger, more capable version of yourself? Growth is rarely comfortable, and we must learn to sit with the discomfort of not knowing, observing the sensation without immediately trying to numb it or run from it. Developing this profound tolerance requires a radical, unwavering practice of self-compassion. It demands that we become our own deepest, most reliable allies. When the paralyzing fear of the unknown arises, we must absolutely refuse to berate ourselves for being afraid. We must not tell ourselves that we are weak or fundamentally broken because we cannot accurately predict the future. Instead, we must learn to speak to ourselves with the profound, patient kindness we would instinctively offer to a dear friend who is facing a daunting journey. We must validate our own apprehension while gently encouraging our own inherent bravery. We must intentionally say to ourselves that it is completely natural to be frightened when the path ahead is unclear. We must remind ourselves of our own history, recognizing our undeniable track record of surviving things we once thought would completely break us. We must promise ourselves that we will walk into this uncertainty together, and whatever happens, we will figure it out. This gentle internal dialogue is the bedrock foundation of true, lasting resilience. It deliberately shifts our locus of security away from the external world, which we can never truly control, and anchors it deeply into our internal capacity to adapt. True resilience is so often tragically misunderstood in our culture. We frequently picture it as a kind of impenetrable emotional armor, a stoic hardening of the self that allows us to bounce back from adversity without shedding a tear. But heavy psychological armor restricts our movement. It keeps the pain out, but it equally keeps the joy, the connection, and the tenderness out. Real, enduring resilience is much more akin to water than to fluid, beautifully adaptable, and capable of reshaping itself to fit entirely new environments without losing its essential nature. When we finally learn to tolerate insecurity, we allow our identities to become more beautifully flexible. We realize with a profound sigh of relief that we are not solely defined by our current job title, our current relationship status, or our perceived social success. We recognize that all of these external things are entirely subject to the unpredictable, shifting tides of change. Instead, we learn to anchor our core identity in deeper, far more enduring internal qualities. We anchor ourselves in our boundless capacity to learn, our ability to love deeply, and our courageous willingness to begin again when things fall apart. When our fundamental sense of self is unhitched from the demand for external guarantees, we become profoundly, quietly unshakable. It is vitally important in this space of shared understanding to acknowledge that for many individuals, the sheer inability to tolerate insecurity is deeply tied to past experiences where the unknown truly bring devastating pain or chaos. If you have lived through profound trauma, your nervous system has literally been trained at a physiological level to treat unpredictability as a literal threat to your survival. The instinct to meticulously control your environment and your future is a brilliant, desperate adaptation created by a mind that was simply trying to keep you alive in a dangerous environment. If this resonates with your personal story, it is crucial to approach this journey of tolerating insecurity with immense, extraordinary gentleness. You absolutely cannot shame a traumatized nervous system into feeling safe. The process of learning to tolerate insecurity is a slow, patient, reverent unraveling of old, necessary defenses. It is about deliberately creating very small, manageable moments of safety within yourself, allowing your mind to slowly recognize that the current environment is not the past. It is a journey of deep psychological healing, whispering to your frightened inner self that while the world remains unpredictable, you will never abandon yourself in the midst of it. As we gradually release our desperate grip on certainty, a remarkable and beautiful transformation begins to occur within our daily lives. The vast reserves of energy we once spent frantically trying to force the universe into predictable patterns are suddenly liberated. This energy becomes available for true creation, deep connection, and spontaneous joy. We become infinitely more present. When you are no longer living entirely in the anxiously anticipated future, trying to aggressively manage every potential negative outcome, you can actually arrive fully in the present moment. You can deeply listen to the person sitting across from you without simultaneously planning your defensive response. You begin to appreciate the profound, necessary beauty of life's inherent mystery. If you knew every single word of a breathtaking novel before you ever opened the cover, the story would hold no magic or capacity to move you. If you knew exactly how every relationship would unfold from the very first glance, the thrill of discovery would vanish entirely. The insecurity we spend our lives running from is actually the raw, essential material of possibility. It is the vast, magnificent, empty canvas upon which the most beautiful and surprising aspects of our lives are painted. The legendary author and advocate Helen Keller, a woman who had to navigate a world of profound physical uncertainty, understood this truth with crystal clarity. She wrote powerfully that security is mostly a superstition, noting that it does not exist in nature, and that avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. Her words urgently urge us to step out from behind our carefully constructed walls and engage fully with the vital, risky, magnificent flow of human life. We are not meant to live in sterile, completely predictable bubbles. We are meant to be shaped by the changing weather of existence. We are meant to experience the full, breathtaking spectrum of human emotion, from the sunlit heights of joy to the profoundly instructive valleys of sorrow. When you deeply accept that insecurity is not a terrifying flaw in your life plan, but the fundamental condition of human freedom, you take absolute responsibility for your own emotional experience. You realize that true courage is never the absence of fear, but the profound decision that your growth and your authenticity are vastly more important than that fear. The human spirit is remarkably buoyant, possessing an intrinsic tendency toward the light and toward healing. When you learn to trust this innate buoyancy, you no longer need to fear the deep water. As you stand today at the threshold of whatever unknown stretches before you, I invite you with deep respect to lower your weapons and stop fighting the uncertainty so fiercely. Take a slow, grounding breath and allow the insecurity to simply be there. Acknowledge its presence, but do not let it dictate your direction or shrink your world. Remind yourself again and again that the feeling of not knowing is not a symptom of failure. It is the absolute hallmark of a life that is actively expanding. You do not need to have the entire map drawn out in order to take the very next meaningful step. You only need enough light to see the ground immediately in front of your feet, and you already possess that light through your own self-awareness and enduring courage. Let this be the defining moment you stop desperately waiting for the feeling of total security to arrive, embracing the terrifying, beautiful reality that you are a living work in progress, navigating a complex universe. You are infinitely more capable and resourceful than your darkest doubts would ever have you believe. You have survived the wildly uncertain days of your past. That survival was likely not flawless, and it may have left you exhausted, but the very fact that you are still here is undeniable proof of your enduring resilience. You do not need absolute certainty to live a deeply meaningful and impactful life. You only need the willingness to show up fully with an open heart for whatever magnificent unknown happens next. Strength is not found in the guarantee of a safe arrival, but in the quiet courage to keep walking through the fog. If these words have brought you a sense of peace or understanding today, please like this video, share it with someone who might need this gentle reminder, and subscribe to Power in Words so we can continue walking this beautiful, unpredictable journey together as friends.